And hello and welcome everybody. We're not going to do the regular Randy replay intro because it is wildcard weekend. The Minnesota Vikings have reached the off season. Well, the end of their season, really. You could see down at the middle left of your screen the team ranks. Offensive points per game, we were number 3rd in the NFL. Offensive pass yards, we were number 1. Rush yards, number 7. And defense, we were bottom of the league. We were 4-13 on the season. We're just reiterating. We know. The Vikings have an available SAP calorie of $42.7 million. We have come to terms of the release of Kyle Rudolph, Anthony Barr, the right tackle we signed in need, and then I believe one other player. If we look at the league transactions, it will tell us. I don't know why I'm not doing this already. Randy is messing up. We have also come to terms of the firing of the defensive coordinator, Jack Parker, and the offensive coordinator, who brought us to this point, leading the league in passing yardage. Justin King, the number 1 ranked offense, gets rid of their offensive coordinator. Now, we could bring him back, but Minnesota wants to test the waters and see who else we could bring. Jack Parker, worst defense in the NFL. He's gone, cut and dry, no doubt about it. Anthony Barr, Ty Nisecki, and Kyle Rudolph have been released, freeing up, I want to say about $8 million, give or take a couple $100,000 in cap. The Texans, surprisingly, have fired defensive coordinator Albert Torres and offensive coordinator Ed Green, not to be confused with Ed Gein. And in a miraculous, shocking, horrific turn of events, the Seahawks have fired Pete Carroll. He is available, as well as clean house with their OC and DC, Mac Williams and Scott Jackson, respectively. And Ron Rivera is gone. Defensive coordinator Adam Rodgers and offensive coordinator Roger Hughes joins him. But the most shocking and just jaw-dropping stat of the offseason so far, and we're not really even in the offseason. It's the offseason for the Minnesota Vikings, but for the teams in the playoffs, they're still going, but here we are. The Lions have come to terms with release of Dan Campbell, Eric Aguilar, and Dean Fuller, head coach OC and DC, cleaning house in Detroit. And of course, the Vikings fan line is available but not up, and Pete Carroll is one of the best head coaches they have had in Seattle, and I would tend to agree, leading them to a couple Super Bowls. And there you have it. So Pete Carroll's time in Seattle is done, at least for now. They could re-sign him, obviously. Ron Rivera's gone after just 1 or 2 seasons in Washington. And Dan Campbell is gone. Sheesh. So the Minnesota Vikings for the offseason have $42.7 million in cap after all is said and done, and that is what we will go into the offseason with. Maybe able to get a good corner, hopefully re-signing Xavier Rhodes and picking up a offensive lineman or 2. But here we go. The wild card bracket, or the wild card weekend, is upon us. In the NFC, you have Panthers, Eagles, Cowboys, Niners, Rams, and Bucks. NFC, you have Colts and Dolphins, Patriots and Jaguars, Bengals and Browns. And here we go. Let's take a peek and see who takes wildcard weekend. So let's take a look at the playoff bracket, and we'll see what we got. And it's the 7th seed Eagles advancing, defeating the 2nd seed Panthers. The Niners, who Randy Replay picked to be there in the end, taking care of the 3rd seed Cowboys. And then the Bucks have been bounced. It is the Rams taking care of business, 35-31, 24-12. Niners over the Cowboys, and 31-7 in a rout of the Panthers. On the AFC side, as you can see, 29-19, Colts beating the Dolphins. They advance. The 3rd seed takes care of the 6th seed, 41-35, and the Bengals defeat the Browns. No Browns going to the Super Bowl, poopy puns intended. So, in the divisional round, it's the Chiefs and Bengals. I feel like we've seen this before. And the Colts, Patriots. On the NFC side, it's the Rams, Niners, Packers, Eagles. I feel like we've seen that before as well. See what happens. So, the NFC and the AFC running through Green Bay and Kansas City. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the fate? Let's find out. So Green Bay will advance to the NFC Championship game, beating the Eagles 28-17. And in a low-scoring affair, the Rams lose to the Niners 10-7. So in the NFC Championship game, it is the Packers and Niners, not the Rams. And the Colts have taken care of business 28-7 over the Patriots, and the upset of the century. The number 4 seed beats the number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs. It is Bengals and Colts in the AFC Championship game. My goodness. And we'll see what teams are represented here. For the NFC, it is Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. No surprise, Baker Mayfield will back them up. Running back, you see it, Cordero Patterson, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones. For fullback, I do believe somebody got snubbed here. Where the hell is CJ Ham? Who the hell is Kabinda and Carter? What the hell? 4 wide receivers, it is Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Evans, Thielen, so 2 Vikings get in there. Devontae Smith, Goodwin. All right. Jared Cook, Dalton Schultz, Tunyon, from Packers, of course. We know his name very well. Bakhtiari, Smith, Norwell, Runyon, Jensen, Kelsey, Martin, Mason, Johnson, Jenkins, Lawrence, Josh Sweat, Quinn. Oh, the Sweat brothers are in there. Vita Vea, Allen, Cox. You get Cox. Gary Ojolari. Eric Kendricks is in there at middle linebacker. Collins. Ooh, can we can't click in. Okay. So Smith. I do apologize. I'm not familiar with these names. Xavier Rhodes, Cameron Danzler, Trayvon Diggs, Jair Alexander, Lewis Seen, the rookie, getting Pro Bowl in his rookie season, starting. My goodness. And the ever consummate professional Harrison Smith, starting opposite Lewis Seen, his teammate. My goodness. Joey Sly, the Sly guy. Kick return, Rashad Penny and Reynolds. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven, 8, 9 Minnesota Vikings represented in the Pro Bowl. And there's I'm not too sure about the Falcons, so they'll have to help me out with that one. I know Patterson is 1. Isn't that weird? A 4-13 team getting 9 selections in the Pro Bowl? I will, yeah, and make sense of all this, but on the AFC side, I do apologize. Randy Replay is not good with remembering things, and it's very apparent here today. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Trevor Lawrence. My goodness. Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry for the running backs. Burton and Ingold for the fullbacks. Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson from the Steelers. My goodness. Cooper, Tyreek, Reek, however you want to say it. Is that Sutton from the Broncos? My goodness, Christian Kirk, Travis Kelce will round out the tight ends. Hunter Henry, Dawson Knox, so there's 2 from the Bills there. Stanley, Joel Bitonio, Nelson from the Colts, of course. Sheriff Smith, Agba, who we have seen. Excuse me, Smoot. And it Paye, oh my goodness. Joey Bosa, TJ Watt. Right outside linebackers, Khalil Mack. Holy moly. Tre'Davious White. Of course, there's another Bills player. Gardner Johnson. No relation as far as we know. Butker and Johnston, the kicker and punter. And then there you go. There you see it. So we will take a long look. Just kidding. Nobody cares about the Super Bowl. Or the Pro Bowl, rather. And Super Bowl 57 is as follows. That was pretty close. I got the NFC prediction right. It is the Bengals and the Niners in the Super Bowl. So the Bengals going back to back. See if they can take care of business and get it done here in this one. So if we were to click in, oh, we can look at the box score. Okay. Very nice. Might have to go in depth with some of this in later seasons. But anyway, we will take a look at yearly rewards as we always do. There are players to be upgraded. So this is probably where Randy will leave you, and we'll start the off season in the next one. So yearly rewards, the best time of year. The NFL MVP goes to Joe Burrow. Wowzers. At one point it was Tom Brady, but Joe Burrow takes the NFL MVP. The Coach of the Year, Doug Peterson of the Jaguars. Oh, okay. The AFC Offensive Player of the Year, Ezekiel Elliott. Congratulations. The Defensive Player of the Year, Tre'Davious White. Also congratulations. The Bills we follow. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Breece Hall. Still in the AFC, by the way. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Sauce Gardner. Randy Replay's favorite player after what he did in Green Bay, IRL. Best QB, Trevor Lawrence in the AFC. Joe Burrow just underneath. Best running back, Ezekiel Elliott, of course, now on the Bills. There you go. Best wide receiver, Keenan Allen. Best offensive lineman, Creed Humphrey. Best defensive line, Myles Garrett. No surprise there. Best linebacker, Joey Bosa. Best defensive back, Tre'Davious White. No question about it. Best kicker, Aldrick Rosas. And there you have it. For the NFC, the Offensive Player of the Year, Cooper Kupp. Right behind him, Justin Jefferson. Oh, boy. Defensive Player of the Year, Xavier Rhodes. No question about it. Also, honorable mentions, Eric Hendricks and Cam Dantzler. So 3 Vikings top the NFC Defensive Player of the Year. Offensive Rookie, Romeo Doubs. We really didn't help him out there. He showed why against us. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Aiden Hutchinson. No surprise what a player he is despite being on the Lions. The roar has not been restored yet, but with Aiden Hutchinson, you got a chance. Best QB for the NFC. Hey, that rhymed. Aaron Rodgers. Christian McCaffrey is the best running back. Best wide receiver is Cooper Kupp. Arguably, Justin Jefferson getting snubbed here, setting the all-time single season receiving yards record, but I digress. Best offensive lineman, Trent Williams. I agree with that. Best defensive lineman, DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys. Alrighty. Linebacker, Eric Hendricks. Yeah, he led the team in tackles, led the league in tackles. And he got double-digit interceptions and a couple sacks. Good job, NFL. Best defensive back, Xavier Rhodes. You bet your he is. My goodness. The best kicker, Tucker McCann, congratulations. Just being edged out. Or just edging out, rather, Joey Sly. And no best punter. The best punter in Randy Replay's eyes is Hunter Nice Wonder. But of course, we are a little biased here, aren't we? And hello and welcome, everybody. This is your 2022 off-season, 2023 season recap. The Cincinnati Bengals have won the Super Bowl 28-14. It is their first Super Bowl champion. As you see, the Super Bowl MVP, Joe Burrow. Coach of the Year, Doug Peterson. There are the winners there. Sauce Gardner, Defensive Rookie. And Defensive Overall Player of the Year goes to Xavier Rhodes. Welcome back to Minnesota. So 1 year removed after making it to the Super Bowl, the Bengals get back. They win their first. Oh my goodness. And here we are post-Super Bowl, the Bengals winning 28-14. You see that. And we have some signings to announce. For the Vikings, they signed offensive coordinator Henry Brock. If you remember, he was released by the Falcons. Welcome in as the new offensive coordinator. So already some moves being made across the board in the NFL. The Falcons, who have just cleared house, signed the defensive coordinator. Dan Campbell spent his last year coaching in Detroit. And the offensive coordinator, Mac Williams, was signed. For the Bills, Pete Carroll is the new defensive coordinator over there. The Vikings signed defensive coordinator Albert Torres. And the Falcons signed head coach Ron Rivera. Of course, all the firings can be seen here. They sign Arthur Smith and then release him. So that'll be interesting to see how this plays out going forward. Maybe the league made a mistake. Anyway, that is how this week shapes up. And we will... Next stop is free agency, or re-signed players, and then free agency. Woo! And here we are in the off-season. Number one, it is the re-signed players version, or not version, but the re-signed players stage, and we get to see the mock draft of who the NFL thinks the teams are going to take. Number one, Will Anderson going to the Bills. Peter Skoronski going to the Vikings, and nobody taking a quarterback in the top 5. CJ Stroud goes to Washington. Bryce Young goes to the Giants. And if we take a look at the other quarterback, Anthony Richardson is slated to go 15 to the Tennessee Titans. So my goodness, what do we do here? The only scheme fit for the top quarterbacks is CJ Stroud. He's a top 5 projection. And these mock drafts are a little bit silly. And now we will go into the 2022 retirements. Deshaun Jackson retires after 15 years in the NFL. Michael Kendricks, or Michael Kendricks, Michael Kendricks retires after 11. And of course, the guy who signs a 3-game contract, gets 3 carries, a 2-point conversion, and a touchdown with the Minnesota Vikings, including a 4-point conversion, a 4th down conversion, rather. That is not a thing. Adrian Peterson retires after 16 years in the NFL. We give you claps. And in kind of a surprise move for the Minnesota Vikings, Ndamukong Suh retires after 13 years in the NFL. So, Dalvin Tomlinson, rather, will take over that spot. Oh my goodness. Right tackle Marcus Cannon retires after 12 years. Tyson Alualu retires after 13 years in the NFL. Bobby Massey retires after 11 years. Al Woods after 13. Cameron Jordan, one of Randy Replay's favorite left ends in the league, retires after 12 brilliant years for the Aints and in the NFL. Brian Hoyer retires after 14. Devin McCourty retires after 13. James Ferentz retires after 9 years in the NFL. Dwayne Brown, 15. Joe Flacco, My goodness, 15 years in the NFL. Robbie Gould is gone. 18 years in his career. Tyler Larson retires after just 8 years in the NFL from the Falcons. Pat O'Donnell retires after 9 years. Jason Kelsey after 12. Chad Henne after 15. Mike Remmers after 11. Chase Daniel after 14. Matt Prater, oh my goodness, one of Randy's favorite kickers, retires after 16 brilliant years in the NFL. Punter Andy Lee retires, 19 seasons in the NFL. AJ Green retires after 12. And Tom Brady retires after 23 years in the NFL. Some would argue the greatest to ever do it. It's all a matter of opinion at the end of the day. Excuse me. Josh Johnson, the journeyman of a lifetime, retires after 14 years. Kareem Jackson retires after 12 years. Mike Purcell after 8. Joe Hayden after 13. Janoris Jenkins after 11. So the Bills will lose 2 corners to retirement. My goodness. Case Keenum retires after 11. Roger Staffold III retires after 13. Riley Reif, ex-Minnesota Viking, we'll give him some claps, retires after 11 years. Left tackle Jason Peters retires after almost 20 years in the NFL. Mark Ingram after 12. Mercedes Lewis after 17. James Carpenter after 12. Tywan Jones after 12. Vinnie Curry after 11. Daniel Sorensen after 9. Andre Roberts after 13. Rex Burkhead after 10. Brandon Bolden after 11. Oh, man. Lenerty McCray. Hopefully I said that right. I do apologize. After 10. Corey Peters after 13. Margus Hunt. Got to be careful how you say that. After 10 years. Josh Norman is gone after 11. Bruce Irvin after 11 years. AJ McCarron after just 9 years in the NFL. Jimmy Smith, cornerback, after 12 years in the NFL. Sinio Kelamet. I hope I said that right. Or Kelemete. Retires after 10 seasons in the NFL. Steve McClendon after 14. Dustin Colquitt after 18. Jimmy Graham retires after 13 years. One of Randy Replay's favorite safeties, Andrew Sendejo, ex-Minnesota Viking, retires after 13 years. Jordan Mills retires after 10. Star Latulele retires after 10 years. Malcolm Smith after 12. Kyle Wilbur after 11. Nate Solder, or Solder, however you want to say it, after 12. Darren Fells after 10. Mike Daniels after 11. And rounding out your 2020 class of retirees, Andre Smith retires after 14 years. So that is 1, 2, 3. In 64 players retiring this season. My heavens. Of course, only 2 from the Vikings, Peterson and Ndamukong Suh. So we'll get you back to the main screen, and we will update you when we have our updated players that we needed to re-sign momentarily. And hello and welcome. We are now in stage 2 of free agency, and we can see the signings here. Sean Murphy Bunting, the newest member of the Minnesota Vikings. He signs a 3-year, $18 million deal with the team. So welcome in Sean Murphy Bunting. Ranked 40th overall. He will replace, well, try to live up to Xavier Rhodes and everything that he has done with the team. The team has also come to terms, contractual terms, with Chris Barnes, the 6'2" middle linebacker, a 2-year, $5.6 million deal. 74 overall middle linebacker. He's 25 years old, a scheme fit, and looking to do some damage here in the middle of the field. He's got pretty good speed, but they got him for his, if we go over here, we'll show you what we got him for here. Specifically his zone coverage, a 71. It's not going to be the best. It's not going to be the worst, but this is obviously a depth move with Eric Hendricks, but it is a good depth move, and he will provide, as we mentioned, a little bit of depth as we move around pieces in this 3-4 defense for the Minnesota Vikings. All right, we are now in stage 2, and the team has come to terms with Shy Tuttle, a defensive tackle. Signed on a 1-year, $2.4 million deal for a 27-year-old defensive tackle that will back up, excuse me, Dalvin Tomlinson, and provide some depth to this team. So no offensive linemen signed yet. It's all defense for the Minnesota Vikings. Better hit on something in the draft, though. The team does not have a center currently on roster. We have $19 million in cap room left. We'll see what they want to do. I will update you as it becomes apparent. This has been Randy Replay. I'll check back in a little bit. And hello and welcome back. Randy Replay checking in here in free agency. The interest shows nothing right now. He was up there, but Steven Nelson has signed with the team. He is 30 years old. He does provide really, really good zone and man coverage for this team. Signed a 1-year, $3.2 million deal. And welcome Steven Nelson to the Purple, 5'11", 194 out of Oregon State. Again, 30 years old, but he will be starting opposite Sean Murphy Bunting, who is with the team for 3 years now. So if we take a look at his player card here, eighth-year guy, man coverage 77, zone 69. It's not the best, it's not the worst. Most important thing is he is a scheme fit, 46th overall ranked corner. He is no Xavier Rhodes from last year, but he will provide a good opposite field coverage to Sean Murphy Bunting, and then we can throw some of our other corners in the slot. So Minnesota going all defense here in free agency, saving everything else for the offense in the draft. We have a lot of picks in the first 3 rounds. Let's hope we hit on them, and let's hope we use them. This has been Randy Replay. The team has $14 million left to go here in stage 3 of free agency. I'll check back in if there's anything pertinent. And hello and welcome back. Randy Replay checking in. The free agency period is done here in the NFL. The team ended up with $14 million in the cap left. And if you take a look at the Minnesota Vikings signings, we kind of lowballed Steven Nelson. We do feel bad, but there it is. Steven Nelson has signed with the team. He is a scheme fit. 1 year, $3.2 mil. So he will provide some depth there at corner. Sean Murphy Bunting, of course, the star, if you will, free agent signing. A great speed. He will play cornerback for this team. Great agility, acceleration, it's all there. He's got great man coverage, and he's only 26 years old, so 3 good years coming from him, or so the Vikings hope. 3-year, $18.3 million contract. A depth move, Chris Barnes, middle linebacker, scheme fit, 25 years old. He's got that star rating, of course, 2 years, $5.6 million. And then another depth move, Shy Tuttle, a 1-year, $2.4 tester on the scheme fit defensive tackle out of Tennessee. He is 27. So 3 young guys and a veteran. Not bad. And we still have 14 mil just in case. But let's take a look at some of the high value or high rated players. Odell Beckham Jr. returns to the Giants. Mike Gesicki also goes to the Giants. Kareem Hunt will go to the Dolphins. Calvin Ridley will go to the Bears. The Bears we're going to take a look at the Bears roster. It has been dramatically increased. So Calvin Ridley goes to Chicago, 4 years, $45 million. For Calvin Ridley. So he goes to this now stacked Bears team. James Robinson goes to the Seahawks. Jarvis Landry joins Odell. They're playing together again in New York. Yannick Ngakoue goes to the Seahawks. Tony Pollard did not sign with the team. So a highly rated running back still available. Marcus Davenport to the Texans. Jabril Peppers to the Chiefs. James Dean to the Steelers. Devin Singletary to the Ravens. Young Hoku is still available. Sterling Shepard to the Raiders. Juju Smith-Schuster, 3 years to the Bears. So my goodness. Julio Jones still available. Evan Ingram to the Bears, 4 years there. My goodness. Akeem Hicks goes to the Eagles. The Eagles won. Well, it's a draw between the Eagles and the Bears winning free agency 100%. Onyemata goes to the Steelers. Eric McCoy, really interested in the Vikings. Declined their offer, goes to Miami. So the team currently is without a center, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. James Bradbury goes to the Seahawks. Jadeveon Clowney signs with the Broncos. There was a little bit of regression there, nothing too crazy. Melvin Gordon still a free agent. Mecole Hardman goes to the Saints, or the Aints as they're known. Marvin Jones goes to the Panthers. Steven Nelson and Sean Murphy, of course, signed with the Vikings. Nelson Aguilar goes to the Browns. Jacoby Myers goes to the Bears. So they have signed 3 wide receivers in free agency. Paired with Darnell Mooney, this team will be scary. And we'll take a look at what happens going forward. That's kind of the high. DJ Chark was interested in signing with the Vikings. They pass on him because we freed up, or we not freed up. We signed that Tyler Johnson to a deal, and we keep the 3 deep together, more or less. This has been a long broadcast for Randy. I am so sorry. Darius Slayton will go to the Aints. Jaron Kearse to the Colts. Linval Joseph, still a free agent. He would start on the Vikings. He is a scheme fit. Only wants $8 million. That's not terrible. He is 34 years old, though. Logan Ryan and Nate Davis both go to the excuse me, the Texans. Sammy Watkins goes to the Packers, or re-signs with the Packers, one of the two, however you want to look at it. AJ Bouye goes to the Rams. Alexander Mattison, ex-Minnesota Vikings running back, is now with the Texans, so hopefully starting over there. Andrew Von Ginkel, who Randy really likes calling that name, is on the Cardinals. Blake Martinez goes to the Bears. Baker Mayfield to the Eagles. Oh boy. Chuck Clark to the Bears. Eric Ebron goes to the Cardinals. And I do believe that's gonna... Oh, Kenyon Drake and Kyle Fuller both go to the Cardinals. My goodness. Try Turner, Matthew Ioannidis goes to the Lions, and then Anthony Barr signs with Washington. Oh my goodness. So Anthony Barr signing with Washington, and that's going to round it out for big names. Keanu Neal, of course, with the Jaguars. I mean, and then of course Xavier Rhodes leaving Minnesota and signing with the Eagles on a 1-year, $2 million deal, even though he wanted more than that to stay with us. He obviously wants to play there, so he took a big pay cut. And looking back, the team probably should have just franchise tagged him, but it is what it is. He does regress to a 77 as he does turn 33 years old. And yeah, that's about it. So This has been Randy Replay. I will check in. The next time we see each other will be the draft. Mock draft number 5. We'll take a peek. Peter Skoronski is still the pick projected because we have Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins is still on this roster. And as our correspondent from the Bills pointed out, that is the only reason why. The QBs have slid. Take a look here. CJ Stroud slated now to go 15th. Bryce Young to the Bucks slated. Then of course, Anthony Richardson slated to go 24 to the Panthers. So, oh boy, top 5 projection. Definitely not by talent. And he's fallen 9 spots. But these are just mock drafts. You all know how it goes. The team has scheduled private workouts, and we'll see how all that shakes loose. The draft is next. And hello and welcome back. Randy Replay checking in with you here. We have a big trade that happened moments ago. Nothing really happened else in free agency as far as your Minnesota Vikings are concerned. The team does have $40 million in cap though. And we will go into the transactions and we will show you what happened to get us to this point. The Bills making some moves here. Okay, so the Bills may have screwed the Minnesota Vikings. The Texans need a quarterback. Minnesota is number 2. The Bills are number 1. The Texans number 3. So the Bills trade away number 1 to the Texans for number 3. They move back 2 spots, and they give up next year's number 1 and number 3 for this year's 2 and 3. So they swap number 1s. The Bills give up next year's 1 and 3 for this year's 2 and 3, and now all of a sudden the team that needs a quarterback in front of the Minnesota Vikings. So if it all depends on who they're going to take. If the Texans even take a quarterback, I'm assuming they will, as they only have Davis Mills on roster. And for your Minnesota Vikings, we need one because we have traded away Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been dealt to the Bengals. Don't ask me why. The teams have been in talks for a couple hours, I guess, and they really wanted to get the job done or get the deal done. I don't know how or why. But Kirk Cousins goes to the Bengals. They need a backup for Joe Burrow. They think he's going to be the guy. And what was your favorite Chris Barnes Minnesota Vikings moment? Yes, the free agent that just signed was traded as well, as they need middle linebacker help, and they give us a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, numbers 32, 64, and 96. So, Kirk Cousins, no longer a Minnesota Viking. It was a contract year. We cleared $30 million in cap. And an aging, regressing Kirk Cousins now has an overall rating that would match that of a new guy coming in with the potential of being a star or more. So, we are being handed a note here, breaking news out of Atlanta of a possible move. We'll try and get as much as we can, and this offseason has just been batshit crazy. I mean, we've seen so much movement. There have been trades like crazy. We're going to attempt to sort it all out for you after the draft, but my goodness. Firings, coach hirings, all over the place. Minnesota, of course, getting rid of their offensive and defensive coordinator, the Falcons, the Lions clearinghouse, and more news coming out of Atlanta momentarily. But in terms of Minnesota, it's a good move. Kirk Cousins is aging, regressing, and we get 3 picks from the deal. So, as we go back to the main screen here,